Hello, my name's George Cairns, and in this video lesson I'm going to show you how to use the eraser tools to remove our parrot's busy background. There's the before, there's the after, and you can see we preserved these complex details around the edge of the feathers. And the eraser tool isn't the first thing you might think of when you want to select something as tricky and complicated as this, but because there's actually three versions of the eraser tool, you can use the right tool for the right job and remove areas that you don't want very quickly and very effectively. I'm going to show you how that works now. So go to File, Open, and browse to the Start image, which is called Eraser 01 before, and then once you've got the Layers palette up, by going to Window, Layers, you can drag this background thumbnail onto the Create New Layer icon to create a copy, and then you can hide the background copy. It's always worth having that later on in case you need to refer to it, but we'll leave that off for the moment. Click to target the top layer, and we're ready to start erasing. Now you can see here we've got large swathes of similar coloured areas to start removing, so we can do that with the Magic Eraser. Click and hold down, select the Magic Eraser, and that works just like the Magic Wand, but it also erases at the same time as making its selection. Now we want to select these large areas here, so what we're going to do is just tweak the tolerance to around about 34 or so, 35, so that it selects similar coloured pixels in the range, and then we're going to click contiguous so it doesn't accidentally select similar colours within the area of the parrot, and then we can just click and it will select and delete in one easy move. And you can see if I Control plus to zoom in that it's done a pretty good job of selecting the delicate feathers around the edge of the parrot. Now the Magic Eraser is always good at making your first strike to get rid of similar coloured pixels. We can also click here to select these areas and keep on clicking to include other areas in the selection. Now that area I just clicked on is very similar to the light feathers here, so I'm going to Control or Command Z to undo that, and I'm going to reduce the tolerance to something like 24. So if we take that down, it's going to be less sensitive to the colours that we select. It's only going to select very similar ones now. So if I click here now, it's not selecting these areas, but it is selecting the area above. So that's a cool way of controlling the way that this Magic Eraser works. And I can click here to select this similar coloured section, and indeed this bit of sky here, and this bit of light background sky as well. Now you've missed a bit up here, so spacebar and click and drag. And it's quite hard to place this tool with precision because you think you're over the bit of sky, but when you click you're actually selecting the beak, so Command or Control Z to do that. And if you hit the caps lock button, you get a little cursor which makes it easier to position and click and erase in one easy move. So the Magic Eraser has done a lot of damage in getting rid of those unwanted background pixels, but we've got some subtle and busy areas here that we need to fine-tune and delete. So what we're going to do is change our tool now for something a little bit more precise in the way it works, and that is the Background Eraser tool. I'm just going to Control plus or Command plus to zoom in a little bit closer, spacebar to get a closer look at this area here. And what we're going to do is just fine-tune things, because this is a brush-based tool, so we can reduce the size of the brush tip for more precise editing to around about 125 or so. And then we can tick here. This is the option to sample once. So once you've clicked and sampled it, it will only work on that particular colour, and that's a good way of minimizing the areas that it's going to remove. You can also set limits to different options. You can use contiguous like we did with the Magic Eraser, but we're going to use Find Edges just to help us avoid selecting and erasing these unwanted edges. And the tolerance setting makes it more or less sensitive to the pixels you're sampling. A higher setting means that it's going to select a wider range of similar colours. So let's pop it up to 100 for the moment. We can tweak that if we need to. And this option is brilliant. Protect Foreground Colour allows you to sample a colour you want to protect. So you can see the yellow is very similar to the orange that we want to keep. So if I alt-click here, I get this little eyedropper, click, and we've now got a foreground colour that will not be erased when we spray over things. Control plus to zoom in a wee bit more, or Command plus on the Mac, and then click and spray. And as you can see, we're spraying now with the Background Eraser, and it is erasing the background, but it's leaving these other areas untouched. I'm just going to click and spray again to sample another bit, and so mostly these yellow areas are going. If I click and spray now, we'll get this black area, and then click and spray around the edge there, and that's doing a pretty good job of protecting these fluffy feathers while removing this distracting background detail. So this is a very powerful tool indeed. Hold down the spacebar to move around, and then if we get to this area here, if you think the colours have changed a wee bit, you can always alt-click again, resample to protect the foreground colour, and then click and spray and move around like so. Now, as there's quite a lot of variety in this particular background here, you might want to change this from sampling once to sampling continuously, which is this option here. So if you click to select that, Then you can click and spray, and as well as sampling and removing the blue here, it's going to continue sampling and erasing as we get onto different colours. So that's a way of working more quickly with this particular tool. So let's just continue spraying around here to get rid of the edges around the bird, like so. Don't worry about areas that are not connected to the bird. We're going to use the good old eraser tool to remove those. So click again and spray. Now here we've got lighter colours, so what I'm going to do is alt click to sample and protect these colours, and then I'm going to try and sample the adjacent yellow here and just tidy that up a little bit more. So once you've used the background eraser to select these delicate edges, you can go to mop up any survivors using the standard eraser tool. This is brushed base, so you can create a nice large tip and remove areas that aren't immediately connected to the parrot, like these areas here. I'm just going to Control or Command plus to zoom in to the edge of the bark here, because we can erase this as well with more control by holding down the shift key as we click our point and then shift again, and you can see we're drawing a straight line with the eraser between each point as long as the shift key is held down. If I hit tab, it gets rid of the floating windows, and I can continue clicking with the shift key just to go around curved edges like the top of the bark, and that's a cool way of working quite quickly with the standard eraser. And then you can freehand to spray the remaining unwanted pixels. So that's how you combine the eraser tools together to make complex selections like this feathery edged parrot. Now here's a tip in using the pen tool and the background eraser tool together to make selections and then fine-tune them using different options. First of all, grab the pen tool from this palette here, make sure it's going to draw a path, and then just click to place points so you can actually draw a path around the parrot and its perch. And if you click and drag as you place a point, you can create a curved line between it, but don't worry about making this path particularly accurate, just get it fairly close. Once you've done that, you can click to place a few quick points at the top and then the last point on the first to complete the selection. Okay, once you've drawn the path, let's go and choose our background eraser from here, and let's set up its options at the top here. We're going to click here to sample continuously. We're going to have it on find edges. Let's choose a size of around about maybe 300, a nice large brush tip. That should do the trick. And find edges is there. Let's set the tolerance down to something lower, like 20%, so it's less sensitive to changes in colour. That should do the trick, round about there. And protect foreground colour should be ticked as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to alt click just to sample this bit of similar coloured branch there to protect that particular colour. Pop down to here and click on the direct selection tool, and then right click near the path and choose stroke paths, and up pops a window like this, and you can set it to background eraser and click OK, and that will stroke the eraser settings that we created slightly earlier around the edge here, and it will then start to delete various bits of unwanted background while preserving the delicate edges of the parrot, like so. And the cool thing about this technique is if it doesn't work quite well, you can undo the stroke you've just done, pop up and modify the background eraser tool's options, change the tolerance perhaps, and then come back and restroke it again, and you'll very quickly find the setting that will remove the background while preserving the parrot.